All right, so it looks like we're live. All right, so hey everybody, if you are joining us live, just say, hey, what's up? Let me know you're there because I have no way of knowing unless you say something. I'm gonna close some of these windows so I don't get distracted looking at things blinking and stuff. So I'm excited about today because I have one of my powerhouse clients with me, Andrea Thomas, and we're gonna talk about this journey that Andrea has been on. So I'm going to take a minute and just kind of do a little introduction for those of you who don't know me. And then I'm going to jump in and let Andrea introduce herself. But we're talking about today what it really takes to sell high-end services fast. And I know it's not all about, the fastest way that you can sell, but here's what I know. In the marketplace right now, you hear all kinds of stuff. People telling you, hey, you can get to 6 figures in 6 seconds. Use this strategy or that strategy and your whole world's going to change. And it's hard sometimes to cut through the fluff and the noise. And here's the deal when it comes to case studies like this and people sharing their client success stories. Oftentimes, we're always going to share the best of what we can do. So I thought, how can I do something different and really just share the behind the scenes, real talk about what it really takes? Because here's what I know. And this is the little introduction that I want to do. If you don't know me, I'm Shamika Tankerson, and I help powerhouse, badass business women really sell more and charge more with zero doubt, zero apologies, and scale their businesses up from like 5K, 6K, 10K to 20K months. And here's what I know. What I found over my years in working with women is this, that no matter how much strategy I would give them, there was still something underneath the surface that would sometimes stop them and keep them stuck. And it was their beliefs, their limiting beliefs, their limiting behaviors. And no matter how confident they were coming to me, it didn't matter. There was always something that could be a block to the next level. And so once I figured that out, what I decided to do is not just focus on sales, but focus on who you're being inside of the action of sales, inside of the conversations, and really uproot and annihilate some of that stuff. And so Andrea is here. Hold on, let me find her. Let me do my little, see, look at me. I ain't even doing it right. There you go. So Andrea's with me. Say hi, Andrea.
Hi.
So Andrea is my client, and she's got a baby on her lap. I don't know if you guys saw that. So I'm going to let her tell about herself, but I will tell you guys she's got maybe 22 kids.
23.
She runs her business. She is actually running multiple businesses with 6 kids, right? Is it 6 or 5?
It's 5.
It's 5. See, I always add more kids because I'm like, girl, you hats off to you. That's all I have to say. So Andrea, why don't you introduce yourself to the people? Tell them who you are. Tell them how you are serving the world right now. Don't be modest.
Yes. So I am an e-commerce strategist, and I help those with amazing products, basically get their customers to give them more money, obsessed with giving them more money by reaching more customers, selling more products, and of course, doing it profitably. So that's my sweet spot. That's what I do.
Awesome. So I'm going to bring myself back in here and I'm going to add to this. So this is kind of what we're going to talk about today. And hopefully today you're going to leave with 3 major things that you need to shift based on Andrea's story. But Andrea's like, oh, this is what I do. So she's an inventor of a product, right? And can we say the name? We can say the name. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So she invented a product called Scratch Me Not. It's an amazing product for babies. And, she's always really modest about what she's done in the world. She's built that company to multiple 6 figures and decided to take a stab at the coaching and consulting world. So here's the first tip that I want to give you guys. And we're going to talk about this and I'm going to have Andrea kind of talk about her journey a little bit. But owning your expertise, right, is a big part of selling high-end fast. A lot of times we downplay the gifts and talents that we have and what we actually bring to the table because we don't want to seem like we're bragging. We don't want to seem like we're pompous. We don't want to seem arrogant, right? And it took me a long time. I would say, Andrea, you got to talk about this other business that she has. But she's like, well, what does it have to do with what I'm trying to do right now? I'm like, you're trying to teach people how to take their e-commerce businesses into multiple 6 figures. And that is your proof. She's like, I don't know. I just really want to keep them separate. So I'm going to let her talk about, let's talk about like where you were when we first started and connected on this journey?
So where I was, well, I already hit the six figures a while ago when I connected with you, and I realized that I was kind of consulting people for free. And I was like, well, I love talking to people. I love talking about business and e-commerce and online, everything when it comes to physical products. And I can do this consulting thing. So I thought I would just talk to two people and I would have two clients because it's a no-brainer. I've already done this before and I can help you out. But I realized that there's an art to sales that I knew nothing about. And behind the scenes of Scratch Me Not and doing a e-commerce store, I didn't have to talk to people. I didn't have to really get on the phone with anyone. I didn't have to really do anything besides customer service. And that's really just troubleshooting. Like they come to the website, they purchase what they need, and then they move on. So shifting gears to consulting was a little bit more tricky than I thought. So I knew I needed someone to guide me along the way that has been there and done that. And so when I came across you, Shamika, it resonated, it clicked, and I said, okay, she can take me where I want to be because I'm not content with where I am and the results that I'm getting so far.
Awesome. So guys, I want to ask you this question. Where are you downplaying the gifts that you bring to the table? You know, you've been published in magazines, you've been featured in news and articles, you have worked for, you know, Fortune 500 companies, helping them bring in billions of dollars, but you never talk about that in your consulting and your coaching business because you're like, well, that was something else. But that's the expertise that you bring to the table that allows you to charge more for what you do. So one of the areas that we kept getting tripped up with Andrea was bringing in all of who she was into this consulting business. Like, this is your proof in the pudding. Yeah. And so I want you guys to consider, where are you leaving things out of your story that can position you as an authority and an expert because you're afraid of judgment, because you're afraid that, or you're thinking you have that same story as Andrea. What does this have to do with what I'm trying to do right now? And in reality, it has everything to do with it. Who you are for your prospects and your clients when you come to the table is every piece of who you are. Her even managing her kids, you know, on a daily basis has to do with it. And that's another part of who she is that we've been bringing more into her marketing and her talking about how she's built her business, because it's one thing to build a business to multiple six figures, but it's another thing to do it when you're managing a household with 5 kids.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And they're all under the age of how old?
8 and under.
Yeah. I don't know how you do it. My kids are all 6 years apart. My youngest is 14, 8 and under, guys. Come on. So I want you guys to type in chat. And this is your opportunity to brag. What's something that you've kind of been leaving out that you know is a big deal, but you don't want to like pump yourself up? I want to see and hear what those things are as we move through this conversation a little bit more. So, Andrea, I want to ask you a couple of questions about this process, right? Because there was a point in the process where you were like, let me put up a funnel. Let me do a landing page. I'm going to run a challenge and do a webinar and just drive traffic to it. And then poof, I'm going to have, you know, a 5-figure month.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And it didn't quite turn out that way. So let's kind of talk about the mindset that you had coming into this relationship that we currently have and what's shifted for you in that area.
Yeah. Well, when I came on, there was a lot of personal things going on in the background. Like I decided that years ago, I was going to retire my husband, and I had an opportunity to do that. And things just weren't going the way that I wanted it to go. Like we wanted to grow Scratch Me Not exponentially. We wanted to do X, Y, Z. And some of those things were slow moving. And so I wanted consulting to really be something that I could do for myself, but also for my family. And so that was something that I was really struggling with moving past my current situation because it was bleeding into my business. And I don't know if you've probably seen coworkers when you work 9 to 5 or corporate, where people's home life comes to work with them every day. And it's so obvious to see them every day and see their family situations come through, or their whatever situations come through. But for some reason, I couldn't turn it off at the time. I didn't know how to turn it off. I didn't know how to just focus on business and not let the pressure of my personal circumstances take over. And so I was really relying on Shamika to help me work through those mindset situations. And then also, because I am a definitely a positive person, I'm also a not, the word just slipped my brain, but I know where I want to be, and I know I can get there, and so I want to get there tomorrow. And so, anchoring me was a bit challenging.
The truth of the matter is she's a high achiever. And so as a high achiever, we see the big picture and we're like, oh yeah, that's doable. And then we try to jump from, 1,000 to 1 million in 90 days. Like, oh, that's totally possible. Or in 24 hours or whatever. So she would set these big, humongous goals, like totally setting herself up for like massive letdown.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I just don't know why it didn't work. And so I had to like say, hey, let's back off a little bit and let's take it chunk by chunk and see what we can do. And so we got to the point where you were willing and able to let go of what you thought it took to build your business or to sell your services at a higher price point. Like, let's let go of putting up web pages. Let's let go of this whole entire like funnel with emails, that follow-up sequence and seeing who opens it and all of that stuff. And let's just get to the nitty-gritty, right? Let's just get down to who's around you that's engaging with you and how can you engage them. And the moment you started to do that and you were willing to release it, bam, right? We went from, what were you charging before? Like $49 an hour, whatever you could do. You were like, somebody, I can get 100 people to pay me $97 an hour, right?
Right. And that's e-commerce, right? I was trying to apply e-commerce strategies to consulting, and it's not quite the same thing. Well, it is in a sense, but to get to where I wanted to be, it would take more time and energy to create the right funnels, to test the masses and so on, rather than just going straight to them and getting them.
Yeah. So we've gone from, you charging, I think, a maximum of $500 for 90 days worth of work. We won't talk about it. We're just going to pretend like I didn't really say that, okay? To her having her lowest package is $2,000 right now, and then your highest package is $20,000 for your done for your services, right?
Yes.
So I want to go back to some of these posts that people put. I want you guys to keep coming because I think these are super important. All right. So I've got Danny that says she's pretty badass at knowing that she can walk her clients from frustrated to fit. Mm-hmm. Who else is bold enough to talk about what they can do? Elle, I see you on here. I want you to post something on here. Calvin says, I've been on Success Magazine, news outlets, etc., and I don't think I've ever led with that in a conversation. And it's not even really about leading with it, but we don't necessarily need proof, but you accelerate your authority factor much faster when you can show people the proof in the pudding. And oftentimes we are like, well, I want to just leave that out of the equation. And then we cause ourselves to have to suffer in figuring it out and connecting with people longer. We extend the authority trust building cycle because we don't utilize those things. And you don't even have to utilize them up front. Just somewhere in your qualification process, you want to do what I like to call authority seeding. Mm-hmm. Authority seeding. So whether it's visually in your post or sometimes you guys will see my media credibility logos on my pages, or in the process, when someone applies to work with you on the back end of that, you can show them, here's why I am the person for the job. So that on the phone conversation, you don't have to do that. And like right now, Andrea, your conversations are going very smoothly, where before it was like, oh, I don't have $97 right now, right? $500 is just too much, right?
Yeah.
Now the price is, what do we look at it? It's 4 times what you were charging, right?
Yeah.
If we look at your higher end packages, it's much more than that, but the conversations are much different, right?
They are.
So tell me this, or tell everybody this. What's something that's come out of this process that you are extremely grateful for, excited about, but you never would have expected?
This is such, I guess you talk about this a lot, but strategy. I thought, okay, if I get the right strategy, if I know what to do, I'll just implement it and do, because I'm naturally a doer. I get things done, and that's how my original business began. Like my daughter had an issue, I solved the problem and made it happen.
Guys, I'm used to ignoring the kids in the background.
Yes.
He's like, this is not happening, Mom. We don't want to do this right now.
He's tired. I'm going to go give him away 1 second.
All right, guys. So I'm going to put up some more of these things while she does that. But here's Elle. And Elle, I know, is a total badass at what she does. And she doesn't really talk about this stuff in the background, which is why I asked her to post something. I've won and managed $2.5 million brand accounts, was a television personality, an actress, a recognized entrepreneurial leader, and a champion for women. And I never talk about that. And she never talks about it, guys. It is the truth. She never talks about it. And I don't even think the people who work with her really understand what they get, who they're getting when they engage in that. How many of you guys are leaving that stuff on the table? So first and foremost, I want to remind you that you need to own your expertise. And that's what this is about. Like, look at, where are you not owning your expertise, all of who you are, and letting people know without feeling ashamed, not ashamed. I know you're not ashamed of it, but it's like, well, how can I take credit for that when it has nothing to do with this? It has everything to do with it. It has absolutely everything to do with it. All right, Andrea, so you're back.
Yes.
And I want to talk about pricing, right? So one of the things that you had to do in order to start to reach your income goals is raise your prices. Because like, how many $500 clients would you have to work with to hit a 5-figure month?
Too many. Too many with my limited time.
Let's do the math. And right, your time. So it's a 90-day contract. It's $500.
Yes.
Right. As we're talking, guys, I want you to think about yourself. I don't know what you're charging right now. Right. But it's 90 days. I don't know how often you were planning on meeting with those people. I just know the moment that I heard it, I was like, nah, we ain't going to do that.
And I am so thankful.
So, you know, this process of owning the value that you bring to the table, so much so that you can charge a premium for it, right? You went from, okay, you can book me for a few hours at a time for $97 to now your lowest intensive is $2,000 for a few hours, right? What was that process like for you? What did it really take for you to be able to say, this is my price and I'm owning it, and like being confident in that?
You know, because we went through my pricing a few times, and I knew those numbers would hit my goal, but I wasn't confident that what I was providing equaled the amount that I was charging. And I saw other people doing those prices and higher, but for some reason I was stuck that I personally couldn't charge that. But now I can see more clearly. I mean, I have like 8 years plus of experience in e-commerce, so how come I cannot? And I was stuck on, has someone deemed me as an expert? Do I feel like an expert? And you know, do I have like a list of 5,000, 10,000 people who are screaming my name and followers that matched it? And so I had a lot of mental hurdles to work through to help me see that this number is actually probably too low still for all that I'm doing.
Yes, it is. But we're not going to talk about that right now. We're just going to celebrate where you are.
Yes, I'm grateful that I've made it here, and that I own that now. Like when I have a sales conversation, it's not sheepish anymore when I get to how much the package costs. I used to like slide it in there and then keep talking over it and just hope they didn't catch it or hope that they're okay with it. But now this is what my number is. I know what I'm providing you. I know where I can take you to reach your sales goals monthly, and this is it.
Awesome. So here's what I feel like is super important about that. You were talking about you not being able to, like, you couldn't fathom that somebody would pay you that much, because you didn't have a million people screaming your name, and your, Facebook fans weren't at 14 million people, and your Facebook group didn't have, 10,000 people in it, and people weren't like, hey, you need to know Andrea. And so that made you feel like you weren't able to charge more for what you do. You were waiting on somebody to say, hey, you're now the authority. So you were waiting to be crowned the authority. You were waiting on someone else to give you permission. And in reality, Andrea, I know this, and you now know this, when you look around, it's not even that you do much more for people. You know your stuff. I heard you say that the other day in one of our mastermind calls, and I was like, yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, right? You're like, I know what I'm doing. Of course you do. And I think often so many people think, okay, if so-and-so charges this much, I can't charge that much because they're amazing. But here's the deal. People you're looking at that are charging $500 or $1,000 or even $2,000 for the work that they do, that have massive lists, one, there probably isn't a lot of one-on-one attention that you all are giving for that amount. But the second thing is they have a massive amount of people. So if 100 people say yes, they're making quadruple what you would make, and not spending as much time delivering it. So you have to look at it differently. So Andrea, what would you say to somebody who is in that space of, I know I'm good at what I do, but I'm not the authority or the expert in this moment because of my numbers or because of how many people get on my live streams?
I mean, talk to Shamika.
Besides that.
Oh my goodness. I did a lot of just looking at my history, looking at what I've done, what I've accomplished, and not minimizing that, like not comparing it. That's to other people. What I've accomplished, other people haven't accomplished yet. And what other people have accomplished, I'm still trying to achieve for my own business. So I don't have to reach the end to begin coaching. And I don't think there really is an end. You just keep growing and keep going. So, I mean, just stop where you are and reach back and help someone else get to where you are. Like expert status, I don't know how else to put that, but if you know what you know, if you know what you're doing, if you know you can get results, then reach out to someone and give them opportunity to get those results. That's expert status to me. Now, if you don't know, then don't walk down that path. But
right.
Of course, if you know, then keep moving. If there's no need for me to get stuck on a title. My job is to help others in the e-com world get to where they want to be.
Awesome. So guys, I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask some questions here as we're talking this. I was like, I knew you were going to call me out. You know I am. But I saw something Elle posted earlier. So type some questions, guys. If there's things coming up for you right now, like in your heart space, in your spirit, you're like, I hear you, but there's a song by this guy named Kurt Carr. And in the song it goes, but Kurt Carr, you don't know what I'm going through. You don't know what I've been through, right? So if you have that conversation going on right now, that's great for you, Andrea. That's great for you, Shamika. But my situation is this. I want you to talk about it right now and allow us the opportunity to kind of help you through it. I see this all the time. This is what I do. This is what I am badass at. I grab women that I see and a few men that I can see from a distance. They are at mastery level at what they do, and they are grossly undercharging. They are not showing their authority in the marketplace. And because of that, they struggle to make 6 figures a month. No, they struggle to make, that was a Freudian slip. So I guess that's my next level right there. They struggle to make $5,000, $6,000 a month. And every once in a while throughout the year, they'll have a popcorn, 5-figure month. But when I look at them, I'm like, oh my gosh, like you can just do this for days. I can like say, well, here's the doorknob, Andrea. How would I sell that in the e-commerce? And she'd be like, here's what you got to do, right? So much genius there. And I know a lot of you watching that are attracted to me. This is your same situation. Courtney is saying, oh my gosh, that's me for real. I knew. So here's the deal, guys. Most people do case studies, and I have done them too, where it's like, this is my client who got to 6 figures in 45 days. This is my client who went from 0 to 5 figures or $8,000 or $10,000. This is my client who, sold their first $20,000, $45,000 package. And for this particular case study, it's just been on my heart a lot, because we're not in the coaching and consulting world. We're not in the season where people are focused on results. We're not in a season where everybody makes you feel like you have to have fast success. Now, here's the deal. That's the other thing. This success for Andrea was not fast. It took us a little while to get her to this point, because she was so holding on to what she believed was what she needed to do to create the success. But the moment she was willing to let go of all of that story of, I need a website, I need a funnel, I need to do a 5-day challenge and then make an offer because I have to warm people up with my content first. She went from waiting on people to reach out to her at the end of these 5-day challenges and webinars and things like that to she was coming on the calls going, I got 2 people on my calendar and I don't know where they came from. I don't even know who they are. It's a different mindset when you show up in your authority and you actually can demonstrate that while you're online, right? And you raise your prices to the level that somebody who is an authority at what they do actually charges, right? The raising your rates thing, which is point number 2. So point number 1 was own your expertise. Point number 2 was raising your rates, okay? Raising your rates. And I'm going to put up Calvin's post because I think this is apropos for us talking about raising your rates, right? Raising your rates is something I talk about all the time, because a lot of times we think, well, if I raise my rates too high, and Andrea, you can share if you thought this was you too, then there's people who won't be able to afford me, right? Or I'm going to be leaving money on the table. I can have more customers if I keep my rates low. And that wasn't your reality, was it?
No, not at all. It was, there was some moments where I felt just comfortable doing the 500, because you see so many people doing that level, the tripwires, 97, then you go to 200, then you go to 500. And then after you go through all those steps, now we can do, the 4 figures, the 5 figures. So I thought I had to go through those steps. And even though you were providing me with ways to go straight for the kill before doing all that extra, it was so ingrained in me that I was just nervous that I was going to leave people behind, or no one's going to want to move forward with me because they barely knew me. And then also I had, the $500 program for 3 months. And I realized something you said to me made me realize how much of a disservice it was to offer that price point for that amount of time. And you said something like, Andrea, you're going to get a week or 2 into providing the deliverables for them, and you're going to be already looking at the next customer because you spent that money 2 days in. And I was like, that's so true. That's how I would move forward, because when you're used to, 4 and 5 figures a month on the e-commerce side, and then you get a client for 500, it's like, yay, I'm excited, but that's not what I'm used to seeing. So moving my number up to match the services that I was providing already, which was above and beyond, allowed me the time and space to focus on my client rather than thinking in the back of my head, let me find another one because I have XYZ I want to put this money towards.
That's so awesome. I think that's a good point people don't realize is your servicing of your clients. I can jump on calls with my clients whenever I want to, and I'm not like, oh my gosh, they're draining me, because I charge to the level that allows me to support them in that way. My clients are well supported. They're well supported. Well, they might not call it support, but there might be an occasional whip in there, but they're well supported. And my pricing allows me to do that. And that's what Andrea is speaking to right now. There's a story that I often tell about, if you needed a car and you passed by a car that was spotless on the outside, it looked amazing, it was beautiful, it was the latest car, maybe 2 years old or so, and it had a sticker that said for sale, but it was $500, what would you think? You would think something's wrong with this car. It's not going to make it to the stop sign, right? And it wouldn't matter if you had the money in your pocket to invest in the vehicle. You would not do it because you didn't think it would do the job. But what you didn't know is that the person who's selling the car is the little old lady who's a widower who just lost her husband. He was the one who drove the car, and she just wanted to bless somebody. Now, a lot of you have that desire of your heart. You're like, well, I just want to be able to help people. I want to bless somebody. So if I keep my prices low, but what's happening is those people who can't afford to invest in you, they see you coming. They look at your pricing. They look at how you have things set up. And they're like, well, that's not the expert. I want to go to the expert. And you hear me say this often. Do you want a $500 boob job, or would you rather have a $5,000 boob job? Which one?
I'm on the 5 side, the 5,000.
5,000, exactly. Doesn't matter if you got to go get a loan. Doesn't matter if you have to wait a little bit before you get your funds together, right? And then someone who knows that they've been looking for someone to do their boob job in the first place. The first place they're stopping is not the $500 one, because they can keep $4,500 of their money in their pocket. Think about that when it comes to your pricing. Okay. Let me go back to this post of Calvin's, because I think that was beautifully stated. He said, there's nothing humble about offering high ticket value at low ticket prices. This is not a moment where I want you guys to amen. I want you to check yourself, because there's nothing humble about offering high ticket value at low ticket prices, right? Your fee, what you charge, is your announcement to the world of your confidence in your skill set, right? But it's also what allows you to serve at your highest level. And if you're burned out, over giving, and not being well compensated for it, you are not serving at your highest level. You're not serving at your highest level. The other thing that I had wrote down as another step for you guys that I want to give you, and then I'm looking for, people are laughing at my 5K boob job. Yeah, I like that example. It's kind of funny. Let's put it on here. Maybe Facebook will use it as a as the meme for the end of the photo that they put up for the video. The last thing that I want to give you guys, so I gave you guys own your expertise, raise your rates. Some people ain't gonna like me for this, but I'm about to tell you guys to do one thing, and that's ditch tech. So we're talking about how do you get to multiple 5-figure months fast, ditch tech. Let me give you a way to look at this, guys. I'm gonna give you just a way to look at technology. Technology is a support, right? If you're not at the point where you're already earning 5 figures in your business, or you're not earning multiple 5 figures, I would say $25,000 and more, then that's where tech becomes a leveraging tool so that you can leverage your business. Lower than that, there's so many grassroots ways that you can connect with clients that in a high tech, low touch society make you seem like, oh my gosh, you're reaching out to me. Oh my gosh, you're connecting with me in a different level. I never talked to a human being. That people connect with you much faster. And look, the shortest funnel in the world is this. You guys want to hear what the shortest funnel in the world is? Andrea's like, what are you going to say? The shortest funnel in the world is pick up the freaking phone. That's the shortest funnel in the world. Pick up the phone. You can take, Andrea can take a stranger that she didn't know, book them on a sales call within 24, 48, 72 hours to a high paying client in 2 to 3 days, 1, 2, or 3 days. Just like that, especially when you have that authority seating going on in the process, right? One of the things that I teach in my camp is on the back end of applying for a session, there is a authority seating process that happens so that people are ready to buy when they get on the phone with you. They're like, I know this is the right deal for me. There is no question about it. So your closing ratio goes much, much higher. Andrea, you have anything you want to share about how that has supported you in being able to close more clients and even upselling them into your next level program?
You know, that's ditching the tech was really hard for me, but it was very relieving to let go. So I get a chance to be an introvert when I'm on the e-commerce side, but on the consulting side, it's a little bit more tricky. And so I kind of used tech to buffer me from talking to people. So when we removed that, and I had to kind of get in the zone and just talk to people and share what I do and what I could help them do, that's when I made more sales. I was able to connect with people and create sales conversations because I wasn't doing busy work. And that has its time. But right now, I don't even need that. Like, I even teach, my clients that you don't always need to focus on your website. Sure, it's great to have, and it's good to have in place for your products, but you can sell out of your product without a website at all. Like, you just need to focus on ROI generating tasks versus just busy work that you think that you have to do. And that's where the tech came in for me. I thought I had to do it. I thought I had to have it in place, but it was eating hours, weeks of my time, and I wasn't making moves because of it. And I think that was attributing to why it took me so long to get through this journey or to this point.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So I saw a post a little bit back, and I'm going to ask you one more question, Andrea, just as a support to everybody here. I really wanted to do this case study so we can talk about the behind the scenes part of it, because it's not that you just can't slap a price tag on it. There's a lot of times a lot of emotional stuff like that you have to work through, mindset stuff that you have to work through to get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm doing this. And unsupported, you could never do it because you only know what you know, right? So you were watching from afar the $47 tripwire, $49 tripwire to the $97 to the $500, and you were trying to make that work. And she tried to make that work while she was in my program. Like, she just kept trying to force it in. And I'm like, let's just go straight for the high end sale. And it came a point where she said, okay. And she released it. And she's like, oh my gosh, people are buying the $2,000 thing and they wouldn't even buy the $50 thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So Andrea said, not Andrea, Elle said, despite doing the work and I'm going to put this up here so people can see it, because I think this is it's long, but it's a good one. Despite doing the work and having the track record to back it up, I still struggled with identifying myself as an expert and commanding the rates that match that. And I thank you for being honest about that and sharing, because I don't think you're alone. Right? And I think part of, and this is just my own, from my years of doing this and working with a lot of women through this process who are, like I said, mastery level, badass at what they do. A lot of it is you don't want to be like, well, I can do X, Y, Z, or I'm the best at this. Or, you don't want to seem like you're just talking about yourself, but you got to think about it from the point of view of the person who's desiring to buy from you. They want to know that you know your stuff. They want to know that if they invest 5 figures to work with you, here's the reason why, right? And also that 5-figure investment oftentimes is a signal to them that you're worth it, right? Money is a lens, right? Money is a lens with which we view the world through. And so society literally has this process, this thought process that something that costs more must be more valuable. We didn't do that. Society did it. When you lower your price point, you get viewed through a different lens, even though you're trying to be helpful, right? And it's important. Like, you want to work with higher level clients. You want crazy clients who don't do the work, who blame you for everything that they don't get done. Your Walmart shoppers who, I don't know, wear leg-colored leggings and house shoes into the store. Like, most of you aren't looking for that, right? There's a higher caliber of client that you're probably desiring right now, and they're not showing up. And usually your pricing is the biggest reason why. So, Andrea, I'm going to ask you another what would you say question.
Okay.
So what would you say to somebody who is kind of like what Elle just said? Like, they know they're amazing at what they do. They know they can create results for people. There's no question about that. But they also know that they're grossly undercharging. and even somebody that's in a similar situation as you, where there's this thought process of what they believe has to be done. Like, you got to give value, 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 and put all this content out there, and eventually you'll get a client. You got to put in your time before you can charge a certain amount. You can't charge more than the gurus, all of those kinds of thoughts. What would you say to somebody who's in that space of thinking and believing in that way?
I did not realize until joining this journey how much mindset plays a part in strengthening that muscle, and getting to the root of what's the bottleneck, what's preventing you from increasing your prices. And I did not realize how emotional that is as well, because I'm not typically the emotional type. So it's just tell me what to do, I'll get it done and move forward. But for me, it was a few blocks, and part of it was, my Scratch Me Not business is not perfect, and I didn't want people to see those flaws. I didn't want them to come out. Another side of me was, I don't think I'm worthy of charging the same price as this guru who I've been following. And so by having a coach in place to help sift through those different thoughts, and sometimes over and over again, because once I moved through it, I still had flashbacks, and I needed to kind of work through it again, or just be reminded that this is where you want to be. So let's turn the page instead of looking back. And so for me, I value making sure that muscle is strong, and getting to the root of it. And Shamika, you mentioned constantly that, we're peeling onions here. So it's not just, this silver bullet, we're going to start talking, and then 2 hours later, you're going to get to the root of it. And then voila, you're done. This has layers that we have to peel, and some layers you don't even know exist until you get to the next level. And so I started, getting, at first, my first hurdle was, okay, I just need to figure out where my people are. And so that one was not too hard. So I got to that one, and then it was, okay, now how do I talk to them and work through that? And how do I speak their language? And so we worked through that. And then I started to attract the right people, and I started to slow down, because I was like, wait a minute. So people want to talk to me now. Like, people want to engage with me and use my expertise. And you would think that I'd fly through those doors and be like, here I am, let's get started. Let's start tomorrow. But it was like, whoa, I got comfortable searching for the people, and then found them and just got scared. And so moving past that hurdle, then it was like, okay, I got clients, I got to do the work. so at each level, it's like you're peeling another piece of that onion. And that's why I value not just knowing the strategy, but making sure that muscle is strong, because it's just key to my success. And I think that's why we continue to invest in education and continue to chisel our craft, because we want to be the best. But sometimes that mindset part gets left behind. So yeah, I don't have any problem doing the work, but mindset is new to me. Like, I had no issues with building a 6-figure business until life happened. And then I was like, oh, I'm trying to build another 6-figure business. I didn't have that to sift through the first time. So this time I do, and it brought new challenges.
Awesome. And here's what I believe too, and thank you for sharing all of this, Andrea. People are receiving it right now. So I can say what I want to say all day long, but when you hear it from somebody else who's in the process, it takes on a different light, right? Mm-hmm. Do the work. The work isn't always the physical manual labor. I hope you guys are listening. The real work of growing a business as an entrepreneur, a business owner, a service provider, the real work in growing to new levels, more and more levels, being able to charge more, being able to reach more people, is an inside game. That's the real work. And we often think, if I find the silver bullet, the strategy, if I, learn how to do this method, or, start using bots or funnels, when you put bad strategy and more strategy into a bad business model, into a bad program structure and into a vessel, you yourself, who has all these crazy, crappy mindset issues about your value, your worth, who's going to pay you, can I get results, all of these conversations that keep coming up, what you're going to keep getting out is what you've been getting before, and it's not going to be the results that you want. So the real work is an inside game. And I want you guys to understand that. I can teach strategy all day long, and I can give one set of strategy to one person, the same strategy to someone else, and the results and how fast they get there is all depending on that inside game. And it's those layers that Andrea was just talking about. We peel off another layer. I remember us, Andrea, having this phone call, and you were a little bit frustrated because you were like, and I don't know if you were crying or not, but you were like, am I ever going to get there? It's like every time I get one layer going, there's something else I have to work on. And here's what I admire the most about you. And I hope that people get this. Like, again, this was a process for you, step by step by step, right? And the process was to keep going. Yes, new level, new devil, but I'm forging forward. Most people hit that wall or I've done all the things, right? And then they go, you know what? I'm just going to stay here and sit. And you never did that. And life for you on this side is much different, right? You're like, oh my gosh, this is all I have to do is this. And then people just pop up on my calendar that I didn't even have to go ask for. Yeah. And it's way different than what you thought you needed to do. And it wasn't really about the strategy as much as it was about how you were showing up in the world. Would you agree?
I would. I was bringing that baggage with me, and it was reflecting itself. So yeah, that was crazy. On the other side, it's so much brighter. And I still welcome peeling the onion, because the more I do that, the more results that I see as far as helping more clients, reaching more people. And I can breathe now. Like before, I just felt like I was holding my breath because of all the anxiety and wanting to make this work so bad. And I remember reaching out to you on more than one occasion saying, how do I keep focus on where I want to be when my now doesn't match it? How do I? And that you kept saying, you just have to keep visualizing it and seeing it and moving towards it. And some days it felt like a moving target. And some days, I wanted to like lay down in the fetal position somewhere and just stop. But that's not in my DNA. And it was, you had another visual of, mining the diamond, and you're like inches away, but you've been mining for so long that you just finally just give up because you can't see the diamond, but everyone else knows that it's so close, you're so close, they can see the picture. And I had a few moments like that where I just felt like I'm spinning my wheels. But at the same time, I also knew in the back of my head that I wasn't following your instructions. So I kept moving, and I had to discipline myself to take heed of what you were saying, to keep where I want to be in mind, and just keep moving. Take my nose as a step forward. And that was challenging for me, because I keep comparing it to e-commerce, because whenever people say no thank you to your product, I'm not involved. They look at the website, they decide if they want it or not, and they keep going. I can see the numbers. I can see what's happening. I can adjust accordingly, but my feelings aren't in place. I don't have to talk to anybody and so on. On this side, when I'm on a sales call and someone says no or not now, I had to learn how to separate feelings from the end outcome. There's so much that I learned, and I'm still working through and implementing and doing. And I used to cringe for sales calls, but now I'm excited about them because I know what to do. I know what to say, and there's a piece about it. It's not a, oh, please, please, please be my client. It's like, wait a minute, let's see if you're a good fit. Let's see if I'm a good fit. And then we'll know how to move accordingly. And this Andrea that you're seeing now was completely opposite some time ago.
I'm like a proud mom.
I know. My husband is so excited because at first he was like, okay, Andrea, look, like, what are you doing? I'm helping you with the kids. I have 5 kids. And so he's wrangling kids while I'm on all these sales calls. And, that pressure of, did you make the sale? Did you get it done? And so when I would take that on to my next call and be like, okay, I got to make it happen so that, he'll know that I'm doing well and that I'm saying what I'm going to do and so on. And those were part of my calls as well with you was just, how do I take that burden off my shoulders, set it aside and do the work without it affecting me. And now I've navigated better through that. And I know, okay, don't be attached to the end result. Look at them as a person, not as a dollar sign, and see if I can truly help them. And that comes out naturally. So I'm just excited that we are here, that I have crossed over, and that I was finally obedient and disciplined enough to do the mental work through the mental hurdles. Because the doing the actual work wasn't hard for me. It was just getting past those mental barriers.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So we're going to wrap this up. Andrea, I'm just so appreciative of you. It's not easy to open up your life, right? The things you did well, we can talk about, right? But then to also talk about where you were stuck publicly is a big thing. And so I just honor you for being here and sharing this with people. We've got a couple of people on who do mindset work and they're like, yeah, Calvin said 95% of what I do is internal insight, so we're absolutely right. We think it's strategy. It's not. Kathleen's like, I do mindset work at coaching and I still have to work on my own mindset. It is a forever thing. And I think that's why having a mentor, a coach, or somebody there that can help you navigate those waters, because it's not just about strategy. I wish it were. I know for me, what kept me stuck was not strategy. It was all internal stuff. And the moment that I got real and right with who I was being in the world and how I was showing up and reacting to certain things in my life, my behaviors, my beliefs, all of those things, that's when the floodgates begin to open. And that's where people really begin to see me for the authority that I am in my marketplace. And so I wish nothing but that for everyone here. Andrea, I'm super excited for you and what's to come. And again, I thank you for being here. Looking to see, there doesn't look like there's any other questions. So guys, I'm going to let you go, but I want to leave you with this piece of just knowing, I'm going to give you those 3 things that we gave you again. Owning your expertise. So stop hiding the stuff that you've done in the past that supports your credibility, that supports your authority, that says, look, it may look like I just came out of the woodworks from nowhere. I am not a nobody. I've been around the block a few times, and here's what I've been able to do to this point, and I want to help you to do the same. Don't hide that stuff, right? Don't hide it under a bushel. No, I'm going to let it shine. Okay, I had to sing a song, one song, right? Raise your rates. That's the second one. Raise your rates. Raise your rates. And then ditch technology for now. If you're not earning $25,000 or more in your business, tech is support and leverage. And yeah, you could put a funnel together and build some things. But if you're doing those things right now and they're not working well for you, there's something else that's amiss that you might want to take a look at. And you can definitely jump straight from not knowing somebody to building credibility quickly, right? Through authority seeding and what I like to call a power process with your power content, with your screening and application process, all of that whole sales process. When you do it the right way, you can take someone from not knowing them to a client in 24, 48, 72 hours, just like that. A high-end client, $2,000 or more for services. Andrea's done it. I've done it. My clients do it all the time. So if that's something that you would like support with, just reach out to me, message me. Okay. Andrea, where can people find you? Since
I'm not really using my website.
Exactly.
Just reach out to me via Facebook Messenger. You can just reach out to me that way. I have different little freebies that can help you depending on what you need. And then just start a conversation, just see what you're looking for, what you need, what you're trying to accomplish. And then I'll be able to know if I can help you reach the next level in your e-com business.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. I hope this was super beneficial to you. We will see you next week for next week's Power Talk. Don't know what the topic's going to be at this point in time, but I will continue to cycle in guest people as well as teaching you on my own. So thanks again for joining, and we'll see you guys next time.